So this is all about cosmic radiation, and we're going to come up with answers to some of these questions, which includes how the northern lights operate. You're asked to watch this TED Ed video first, and that tells you partly the story of Victor Hess, who over 100 years ago first demonstrated cosmic rays. We can actually observe them using something called a cloud chamber. A cloud chamber has got a temperature gradient going from ice down the bottom here, dry ice, up to room temperature at the top there, and there's alcohol vapor from an alcohol soaked cloth there, and when light is shone in there, you can actually see the tracks of cosmic rays. So on the next slide here, you can see the tracks there, and that's a video of the cosmic rays shooting across the vapor there. So it condenses out as the particles cross there. So yes, I said particles because cosmic rays are not actually electromagnetic radiation. They're not photons, they're actual physical particles. Subatomic particles, they're either protons or nuclei, which have come in from deep space. They've got incredibly high energy. So from a particle accelerator like the Large Hadron Collider, you'll get anything up to 10 to the power 12 electron volts. However, cosmic rays range from anything from 10 to the 9, even up as high as 10 to the 20 electron volts, with these 10 to the 18 being called ultra high energy cosmic rays. When these cosmic ray particles enter the Earth's atmosphere, they then interact with our atmosphere, and you'll have a whole shower of subatomic particles caused because they have got such high energy. You would need to be able to analyze a cosmic ray shower like that and be able to identify some of the subatomic interactions as a sort of problem solving. You wouldn't be expected to memorize any of these interactions, but you would certainly be expected to use what you know from higher or standard model and to be able to identify some of the particles. Because the cosmic rays come in at close to the speed of light, they're traveling relativistically, but when they can be detected by, if they enter water, they're traveling faster than light should in water, so approximately 2.5 times 10 to the power 8, and so you get this nice blue Cherenkov radiation given off there. So that's one way that cosmic rays can be detected. The other is that they cause fluorescence in the upper atmosphere, and so as they pass close to atoms, then they cause an excitation and release a photon of UV, which can then be detected there. Again, you don't need to know that in detail. I'm just exemplifying some of the phenomena that you get with cosmic rays. Not so much cosmic rays, but the solar wind is a stream of plasma, and you can see here that it's streaming out from the sun as the sun rotates. Here's Earth here, and we pick up these waves of plasma to do with solar activity, and they don't travel quite as fast. They're only traveling at maybe 100th of the speed of light, and so it's a plasma. It's ionized particles, and again, mostly subatomic, but nuclei of higher atoms, higher order atoms, and they impact on the Earth. They arise from solar flares. So you've got solar activity, solar storms, and it's that produces this cosmic radiation. Sorry, this solar radiation. We are protected by our own magnetic field. So the magnetic field of the Earth runs north to south pole, but because of the solar wind, that tends to get pushed out. But also, more importantly, we'll come back to this later on after the electromagnetism unit, we actually get protected by the magnetic field that there exists around here, and so you end up with this almost bow wave or shock wave of the solar wind being deflected away and keeping Earth safe from that plasma. So, well, we're generally safe, but on occasion the radiation does burst through the Earth's atmosphere, through the magnetosphere, and in which case it interacts with our atmosphere, and that's where the aurora borealis or the aurora australis in the southern hemisphere comes from, or the northern lights. Last effect is carbon dating. So cosmic radiation can cause nitrogen-14 to become carbon-14 by a high-energy neutron, and that carbon-14 is radioactive and will decay over the half-life of 5,000 730 years. And so what happens is living things take in that radioactive carbon-14 through photosynthesis. When the plant dies, that uptake ceases and then it starts to decrease. And that's how archaeologists can date things, because of the amount of carbon-14 in any wood or plant matter. So what I would like you to do is to summarize about cosmic rays, not just from what I've said, but there's another paper to read in the assignment, and just make up this, a 2-page summary. I'm not looking for Google Slides or anything like that. Just a nice couple of pages, and it could be handwritten or it could be on a Google Doc, and just to say the answers to all these questions here. That's what you need to know in terms of SQA content at the bottom here. So the origin and composition of the cosmic rays and the interaction, and the knowledge of composition of the solar wind as charged particles in the form of plasma.